Hello, I think we're go. So I am so delighted to be joined by my fellow members of the Cabrillo Festival Orchestra, all now scattered throughout the country. We would ordinarily be just wrapping up our dress rehearsal for a Saturday night concert. Oh no, I guess in Pacific time we would be in the middle of our dress rehearsal for a Saturday evening concert. But we are like scattered to the winds. My name is Tim Munro. I'm a principal flute with the Cabrillo Festival Orchestra, and I'm joined by Svet Stoyanov, percussionist with the orchestra, Emily Wong, piano, and Chandra, second violin, and Tommy Carpenter, our illustrious principal cello. And the way this is going to work, just a tiny bit of housekeeping, is we're going to chat just like we're all in the same room together, holding hands or maybe hugging one another, which we all desperately want to do. And then at about 1:30, I'll start to draw on the questions that are being answered on the Vimeo link. So please feel free to ask questions at any point in the next 30 minutes, and I'll get to those as we start to do the kind of Q&A portion. But it's my total delight to welcome you guys to chat with us. Thanks for taking this time.
Nice to be here.
It is awesome to be.
Yeah, this is really
So
fun.
I was really wondering how to ask a pandemic related question. And I think I'm just going to ask a big, broad one. How has this experience been for you guys personally or professionally? Take it wherever you will. Maybe Emily, in Westchester, New York. Why don't we start with you? How has this? I already know from chatting with you before that you've taken to home making your own yogurt and baking bread.
Yes, I've become a total homemaker at this point. I've changed careers out of necessity. But it's funny that this, the pandemic kind of came at a good time for me because I really needed a break. Work was really demanding and very stressful. We were supposed to be touring around the world and with no real time to, regroup and regenerate. So this has been a real good time. I mean, a great time for me to get to kind of let go of all the stress of that and start to focus on some other things. I've done some projects, right, with the online videos and offerings like for the ballet company that I work with and for Cabrillo, which you'll get to hear. I think, is it tonight that we're broadcasting the orchestral piece that we did, or is that tomorrow? Oh, it's tomorrow. Yeah. So, but I am getting a little sick of it. It's been tough. I was telling everybody that we lost power a few days ago, and it was so dramatic to not only are we restricted in being able to be with people and do our work and go out and travel, but now, I mean, with the blackout, it was like we had no power, we had no electricity. It was really primitive and very, very, well, it was just an interesting experience. So I'm glad to at least have electricity back. It's like now I feel like, wow, it's a life of freedom.
Emily, it sounds like you're living your best life. I mean, I know that I've been on a bit of an emotional roller coaster through this. Svet, I see you nodding in agreement with this. How has this experience been for you, just sort of thinking about the future or considering your place in the musical world?
Very strange times, but we all have to try, I guess, to make the best out of any situation. As musicians, I guess that's partially what we do anyways, right? We have to stay positive and transform everything into a positive experience in what we do. And so this has been at first kind of emotional roller coaster, yes, because you just don't know at one point how to feel anymore. I was supposed to have trips to Asia and Europe, and they all got canceled. In fact, I was supposed to be playing a concerto with Grand Park this summer in your own city, and that all got canceled. But the truth is, this has been time of reflection. It has really made me appreciate much more even what I do, reconnect with a lot of my friends that normally I would have very little time to talk to. Um, try to initiate a lot of projects that would really support people who are in need right now, which has kind of helped me reconnect with some of my missions as a human being. What are the things I really want to do for other people? So, it has been a time that has been very enlightening to me. And it's interesting. I don't know how you all feel, but to me, this is unprecedented amount of time where I could sit down and reflect and kind of draw a line after which I have some space to think and then to act. So I have really tried to embrace that and to do my best in following it.
Yeah, I see nods down from Anne and Tommy to that time to reflect. You guys are both, your principal work is as orchestral players, and you're used to this kind of week in, week out, week in, week out. What has it been like to be done with that for a period of time, to a little bit like not actually know when it's going to start again? What's that uncertainty been like for you? Maybe Anne?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think, I'm going to echo what everybody has said. And I think the thing that we've all gained from this is time, and I think you realize there's so much you can do with your time. I mean, some days I think like you guys, had, sometimes I felt paralyzed emotionally or scared or sad and all that kind of thing. But then some days I felt like I really needed to be productive, else I was feeling angst inside. Musically, I know that you're right. I mean, usually we would get music and we'd have to prepare for the upcoming weekend concerts. And, I have two daughters, so I was gone a lot of evenings. And that has actually been fantastic because I've been able to spend so much time with them and just with my family. And when they go to school, that's sort of your only time with them. So that's one of the silver linings, you would say. Yeah, I go ahead, Tommy, you can, what?
Yeah, I think it's more of the same of what you guys were saying in terms of, I mean, at least for me at first, we spend as orchestral musicians, I mean, I'm not saying that, our job is the only one that's busy. Everybody's busy in their own way. But when you go from, for example, like I've only been in the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, that was my first job for 3 years. And I had been a student before that and really grinding and trying to make it, I guess, and trying to become, realize my dream. And so the fact that now I had just been on, going 1,000 miles per hour in this job, and now all of a sudden it's come to a halt, which is crazy. It's been giving at first it was like, okay, great, I have a lot of time to just kind of relax and kind of just take my time with things and maybe do different projects. I thought we were gonna kind of come back sooner, but I mean, obviously it's turned into this crazy amount of time. And so it's this kind of sense where it's like, okay, I'm ready to go back to work now. And this sort of, the same thing goes with just, just feeling like the relationship with playing in an orchestra and how much I miss it is crazy. And it realizes, makes me realize how much I need this in my life, and why, and also why getting into music and becoming a professional musician was the right choice for me.
I love that. I mean, I've felt that sense of clarity, a clarifying a lot of things about the way that I feel about my instrument and about music. But Tommy, what do you miss? What is it that you initially felt freed from, but that is drawing you back?
I don't know if I felt freed from this, but the thing that I miss most is just being able to play music with people live. Is just the thing that is the most terrible thing about this whole, because we do these projects online and we do with different click tracks and stuff like that, and we just pair it up with everybody else, but then you kind of don't get that sense of community when you're in the moment of performing something. So you have to kind of muster that feeling up when you're recording your own track. And so that's really difficult. I mean, there are some there, you know, as a professional orchestral cellist, you know, you have weeks where sometimes it's not, you know, you just kind of have to get through the notes and the music and everything like that. And it's not the sometimes it's not the most glamorous thing, you know, but there are most of the time there are weeks where you just, you know, you share these moments with your colleagues on stage, and you can also share it with the audience who's sitting right there. So then the fact that right now you can't share those things is just kind of, it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, and that, you know, your mention of community and this larger community of the audience that we want to share with, makes me think just like about all of those, the people who are watching now. We miss you so hard. We miss you so bad. This is like one of the things that makes Cabrillo really special for me, and that has been an enormous clarification for me in this whole experience.
And
Tommy,
and also, so on to go piggyback on that, I just, it's such an amazing feeling to be creating music and also, you know, what you're sharing it with your colleagues on stage. But what I get a huge kick out of, and one that I really enjoy doing, is also peering out, not you know, being a space cadet and staring out at the audience, but like seeing different, even after we play something, seeing what it does to people visually. And like you can see how much what we're doing is, you know, resonating with them. So it's just seeing that is amazing to me. That's why, I mean, it's a large part of why I do it.
yeah, I love that. You mentioned online performances and digital performances. And that actually, I want to piggyback off that and ask a question that I just saw in the chat. And that leads me to remind anyone who's watching that you can ask any question. No question is unanswerable. All questions are delightful. Please ask in the chat, which is below the video that you're watching at the moment. The question is about online performance, how we feel about performing and sharing music digitally versus in person. And the thing I really like about this question is that there's a kind of a positive element to this. What are the benefits? What are the possibilities? I wonder, maybe I'll throw it to Svet, since you've been working on a big online project for the orchestra, for the Cabrillo, that will be premiered tomorrow night. So like, what is that? Have you been doing other projects like this? And more importantly, what do you think are some advantages of this process?
Well, I think right now there's a lot of projects like this that are being done because this is one of the main ways in which we can continue to create and to collaborate. What Tommy mentioned about being able to play with others. Um, this technology is impossible to substitute the immense joy and the energy that we can exchange when we play in the same room together. And I think how the audience can connect to this is the energy that they feel when we are playing in the hall with them. Basically, we have a similar feeling, however, we're just on stage, but it's that energy that we miss. Technology cannot really substitute that, but technology can empower us to continue to create together. And right now, that's very crucial because otherwise, that output will be muted. And I think we all love what we do. It's part of our lives. It's not just a job. And I think for us, this is something that we need, just like we. So, in that sense, I think it's extremely important to be doing these projects and to continue to create artistically. In that sense, I've done a lot of things, and I also record a lot of tracks for people who send me, you know, from projects. They will say, "Hey, here is some clicks. Here is the music. Would you please record this?" Because I wear a lot of hats. This is not really a hat, but I wear a lot of different hats. And so, in that sense, I've been doing quite a lot. Although our project is very unique because I think this particular project maybe is a first in many sense. For example, this is almost a 17-minute piece. It is a world premiere. As you all know, when we got the click tracks in the music, we did not have a previous experience of this music to delve from. We were just new for all of us. I think what this technology allows us to do is basically to continue to communicate with our audiences, to stay in touch, and to also work with the composers to continue to create as artists. Do I think it truly substitutes what we would do in a concert hall? No, not even close. I think Tom is absolutely right here. And I think we all agree. But I think that right now in these times, we as artists owe it to our audience and to music to do everything we can to continue to create. And so this technology allows us that opportunity to continue to collaborate. And I just want to say how beautiful it was basically for the Cabrillo Festival to get together and for the whole orchestra to collaborate like this. Because one thing that you all maybe would not feel as I did, because I was on the receiving part when you all send the videos, is the enthusiasm and the energy of everybody's response, everybody's preparedness to just be flexible and commitment to do this. And I've asked you to do some difficult things. I asked for 2 takes from everybody, etc. No questions asked, just total commitment, total passion for this, which is something that we all feel when we're on stage. So if in that sense, that was really beautiful to feel. So I hope that gives a little glimpse into how I feel about this, and that this technology, even though it can never substitute, is an amazing right now vehicle for us to stay in touch.
Well, I love that you point out that in some ways it brings forward one of the big elements about the Cabrillo Festival Orchestra, which is our gameness, for want of a better term. Just
Right
like
on.
we're up for anything. I have the dorkiest question that is a delight from the chat that I'm just going to ask because to get out of the way. What Michael asks, what DAW software? Do you say DAW software? Do you
DAW.
use?
Yes. So DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation, and this is basically any software that's used to record and to edit audio. For these particular projects that we just did, there were 3 kinds of software that were used. The mixing was done in Logic. However, the processing of the files in order to really prepare them, considering that everybody did record in their own home with different ambient noises and sounds they could not control, that was processed outside of Logic. And then for the video of that, there was Adobe Premiere that was used. And there was also some audio processing that happened inside that domain too, because we had a narration. And you will be surprised how important it is to actually sometimes see the narrator before you decide how loud they should stand with the orchestral mix. Because the visual part in music has not only sort of an audible effect to us because we're seeing someone who is also speaking, like the narrator, but also it has a psychological effect. When you have someone in front of you speak, there is a certain level that you actually comprehend without even hearing what they're saying because you see them. And so those were the 3 software types that had to be used here: Logic, something else, and then Adobe Premiere for the video and the final audio.
I mean, you're ahead of the game. As you said, you wear many hats, and a lot of those are all of these different sorts of technical work that you do. I'm having to learn on the fly how to do 7 other things: to be an audio editor, in some cases to be a video editor, and I've been just using literally what my computer came with, GarageBand, iMovie, and I do think that has been a real challenge. I will say that is, for me, one of the big positives of being challenged to think about online performances is like, okay, how does this not look like a hostage video? What can I do to make it feel like its own unique statement? So like one of the things that I did that was, I think, part of the donors concert earlier in the festival, the online festival, is I performed for my 9-month, then 6-month-old son. I plonked him on his pillow, which is the only way to keep him in one place, and I like played a piece for him because I love the idea of what is an audience that we can't otherwise get. So I like that kind of thinking about the online video situation not as a deficit, but like as a kind of spur to creativity. Emily and Anne, have you had experiences with online videos other than the Cabrillo Festival experience? And what has that been like?
Well, I mean, I can go. It was actually, there was a whole learning curve, as you're talking about, with suddenly doing videos, not just audio, but video, where I found I was having to take on the role of, director and, stagehand. And I mean, I did a lot of maneuvering around my house to try to set up a good, background for videos and like different angles, which way would you shoot from? And then, as a musician, trying to figure this out, how to get the best sound. And I still have to, I've got to invest in microphones because it looks like, you know, we're going to be continuing some of this for a while, and I'm never happy with the sound. So, you know, it's time to start, you know, beefing up some of the technical, you know, equipment that will help this. So it's an interesting process. I actually enjoy some of it, just the aspect of, having the freedom to record yourself until you get it right, you know. So your performance is really more like a recording. You know, you're more of a recording artist, you know, than a performing artist. Like, you know, Glenn Gould opted, you know, to only do recordings after a while because he could control that environment. He could, you know, control the product so much better. So I like that aspect of it. You know, as everyone has been saying, you know, you miss that, just that, the presence of everybody together and the energy that we all create together and that we kind of pass back and forth, you know, between the musicians and the audience and back. It's just, that's magical. And so we don't really quite have that. Like right now, we can't even see the audience, you know. So
right at this exact moment.
Yeah. So, Anne.
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo so much of what you have already said. You know, it puts sort of a microscope on your playing. I mean, I've realized, you know, when you, excuse me, when you record, you know, it's really hard, you know. Usually when you play, you know, you're, all this collaboration you do and the energy you feel, you adjust intonation, all these things on the fly. But when you're listening to yourself, I mean, as we all know, anytime we've had to record ourselves or anything, it's eye-opening. And I also have felt, I'm sure you guys have this too, but all of the things when you're recording, the extra noises, like I had this shoulder rest, you know, that was creaking. I mean, how would I would have never have known this is a problem. It never was a problem. But I think all of those things, you know, as all of you have been talking, I've thought it's gonna, you know, when we do go back to work, when we do go back to Cabrillo, it's gonna be this like a child on Christmas Day, you know. It's going to be this thing that we've missed so much, but all the stuff that you don't even think about, that you don't have to think about anymore, you know, that you rely on each other, and it's going to be so easy and, I mean, magical, like you said. Yeah, we all miss it.
I mean, let me just say, the thing about recording and musicians in general is that I hate recording. I mean, there was so many, I mean, we've all had to do some sort of recording for festivals, or when we were in school still, and other like pre-screening stuff, if we've ever had to do that. And it's sort of, you know, where we all have a little bit of a perfectionist in us. And so it's one of those things where there's the creaky chin rest or something. It's like, sometimes there was one time where I was recording for the thing for the voting piece, and I got, you know, 3/4 of the way in, and all of a sudden it's just, I hear a noise or something from the next door, and I can't go on. I can't use this. This is not. And so it's a struggle. It's a, you know, a struggle to try to find all the right things, and it, you know, just a learning curve for us all. You know, my father, he did this. I mean, he didn't do specific sound recording for profession, but he did that kind of on the side of his job, which was a camera. He worked cameras and stuff, and he worked for C-SPAN in Washington and did the whole camera work thing for that. So, I mean, it kind of rubbed off on me a little bit, but then I feel like over the years I've just kind of not had to use it as much of, you know, recording stuff or any technology. So all of a sudden, you know, when this whole thing happens, it's, you know, all right, it's like trying to ride a bike again, I guess. I don't know.
Right. I have, it has given me so much deep respect for all of those different sorts of skills and professions that we're involved in. Like, because we are the director, the cinematographer, the sound editor, the video editor, the lighting designer, the makeup person, you know, the continuity, you know, all of these different elements that each have their own jobs and each have their own roles. And I must say, I watch movies in a different way. I have a few. If you notice me looking down, I'm not being rude and just like, texting my wife, but I'm looking at the questions in the Q&A. There's a lovely note here from Virginia who says, "We see you and hear you now. We're connected, even if a bit more distant. Looking forward to the premiere tomorrow night, and I hope to the season next year." Cheryl asks, and I love this question. It's a very specific question, but I want to broaden it a little bit. The question is, have we gravitated towards composing while we've been in lockdown? And I actually wrote a piece for 6 distanced flutes that's going to be premiered in Australia in a couple of weeks. And I will say that nothing has somehow magically unlocked some part of me than this experience. And I don't know what it is, because for the first month, all I wanted to do was shut down, watch Netflix, and just like cry silently in the fetal position while changing my son's diapers. But I wonder if you guys can take it anywhere. Emily, I know you are already quite a very experienced and gifted composer, but could you answer that question about how has this affected your composition? And then for others, just like more broadly, how has it affected your kind of creativity? Has it changed anything about what you do? So Emily, would you answer first?
Sure. Gosh, I'm not sure I'm even the right person to ask, because a lot of my creative energy has been going into family and developing other, I guess, other aspects of what I might be able to offer as a person in life. It's a kind of a turning point. I'm not turning away from music at all, but this has been a time to explore whether, like, all of the skills and abilities and stuff that I've kind of gained over my lifetime might be able to be applied in other ways. So I'm actually, I'm getting trained as a life coach. That's something I'm doing right now. And that's just taken a lot of my energy. However, I'm interested in that field, like an intersection of that with music in some way. So now I have kind of new inspiration to do some writing, to do some composing, but maybe with a I wouldn't say just a healing aspect, but really thinking about how music reaches into different parts of ourselves, and it kind of touches on areas that are hidden, really. Like you go to a concert and you hear something that suddenly touches you in a certain way, and maybe it makes you cry, maybe it just makes you smile or just feel great, but those kinds of experiences often are not accessed without music. So I'm kind of looking into that aspect of what I can do, I mean, as a composer. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. Yeah.
I love that. And has all this been brought on by the pandemic situation, or do you feel like some of this was already kind of simmering and this is sort of this experience has brought it out?
Well, I mean, it has come up in the past, but I never really had time to look into it. So it really is a product of the pandemic, because I just found myself looking for other creative outlets, and this popped up. Different things just came into my sphere that kind of opened that avenue, and I started looking into it more and more and realizing that it could be something that I would really enjoy doing, and that I would get some fulfillment out of and feel that I was helping others. And there just were aspects of it that I would have never looked into if I had been so busy, as we've been talking about. Your lives are so busy that you don't have time to reflect, and think.
And the thing that I love about this is maybe you can mute yourself. Sorry, Emily. I think maybe
no problem.
you're the echo. Is that it seems super core to who you are. Like knowing you a little bit over the years and talking to you a little bit, all of these elements feel very like organic as they sort of come out of who you are. The rest of you guys, Svet, Tommy, and Anne, do any of you have thoughts about like particular other sort of creative avenues, particular composers who maybe you're just obsessing over? Take it where you will. Svet?
You know, this has been a very interesting time for me, not to compose music, but to compose ideas. You know, one of the ways in which I really spend energy these days, especially because we have more time, is actually to educate myself following what the events were surrounding George Floyd and many others. And so I have actually really taken the time not only to try to reflect, but also to educate myself a lot, because I think the education really affected what I think my role as an artist is. And what are some of the ways in which I can really try to contribute to everything I believe in and that I have learned. In that sense, you know, I joked about it years ago because people have asked me if I compose. I don't dare, is the answer I get normally. But I find that, you know, I have been actually sort of in the process of building a lot of new commissions that reflect some of the current events that we're facing. I was also extremely fortunate to receive a new concerto by somebody who is a dear friend to the festival, which is Jennifer Higdon. And so I feel that the way that I'm composing, basically, if you will, symbolically speaking, is trying to compose the ideas that I hope can shape more of how I can contribute to the society going forward, and in what I do.
Oh God, yeah, I love that. I mean, I've been having the same since the George Floyd killing and the protests. My brain has been turned round and round and round in circles, thinking about what role can I play, and how can my work be more than just pretty sounds.
I was
And
sorry. Yeah,
yeah,
I was gonna say I don't have anything specific. I am definitely not a composer in the way that we're talking about, but um I was just gonna say, you know, Tim, you were saying how we've all of us were saying how we've become, you know, we have all these jobs, these new things that we're doing, recording engineer, editing, all these new things that we didn't have to do before. We were just musicians focusing on our playing and the repertoire we had to learn for that week in our busy lives. I guess for me, just to sort of talk a little bit about the George Floyd, all of these things that are happening in our world, you know, it makes us all anxious, and it also, you know, what Svet was saying, reaching out to friends, reaching out, how easy it is to reach out to people you wouldn't normally talk to. But with me, I was going to say two things. One, that because I've been spending so much more time with my family, I do feel like with all of these things going on in the world, I've spent a lot more time talking to my kids and Broad and everybody just about all of these things that I feel like normally I'd be like, yeah, it's not, things are a little bit bad in the world. Let's just concentrate on your math, you know, homework. But I do feel like we're talking much more about a lot of these things. And I was also going to touch on, you know, teaching. We haven't really talked about that at all, but I have a few students that I have left on Zoom, and it's a whole new way of thinking of how to teach. You know, you aren't able to physically touch your student and adjust things, and you know, even I have a frustrating thing where I tell a student they have to stop. You know, you play, okay, stop, 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 and they don't hear me, and I have to like hold up my hands. Um, but that's another thing I think I've been thinking about. How can I reach kids that wouldn't normally be able to have lessons, or with this remote, you know, going to school remotely? A lot of parents, I think, are wanting kids to have extracurricular activity experiences that they can't have right now. So all of that is sort of on my mind. That's not a sort of specific thing about creativity, but
no, and your students are in some ways like in a vulnerable position themselves.
mhm.
Like this is, it's tough for them because, as we've been talking about, music is so much about making music together. Have you noticed that your students are struggling, you know, more, finding it difficult? Some students really is this really great for them, you know?
Yeah, I think, well, I do notice a lot of my lesson time is talking about how they're feeling. I have two middle school students right now. And I think that's nice for them just to have another person to talk to about what they're going through. And yes, I do think music, like we're talking about, I mean, it's a way to express yourself, and they're feeling, you know, a lot of this anxiety too. So yeah, I think music has actually helped them, and it's been a good thing through this. They certainly have time to practice.
think-
Tommy,
Yeah, I
do you want to comment, please?
I wanted to touch on the anxiety and also the just general what we're going through as I guess as what everybody's going through. Like during this time, I feel like so much of us as musicians, we kind of we you know, we're practicing our instruments and we sit in a practice room and we prepare our parts and everything like that. And but there's also experiences that you kind of have to have in life, and also with everything that's going on right now, and also just getting, you know, obviously we can't go out and actually, you know, be in a large group of people and experience things that way. But at least what I've been doing is just getting outside and going for you know, going to run or kicking the soccer ball around because I like to play soccer, going on bike rides, and also just that 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 part of it and the whole mental health, that everything's going on right now is so important in a time where we are not sure what's going to happen with our lives and how everything. It's just 2020 is just they need to make a movie about this year. Crazy. But I just had a friend of mine who I knew, you know, really well, I guess, years ago, but just in the past month he took his own life. And so the fact that it's really kind of opened my eyes up to mental awareness, and especially with musicians, how much I can only speak on this part of everything about how important being able to deal with little things like that in terms of making sure you're eating healthy, getting enough exercise, being able to talk to people, and having this platform especially is great. And just that's such a huge important thing that I've been thinking about doing in terms of projects, and at least reaching out to other universities and groups. Just the mental health part of it is a, you know, so important. So
Yeah, I mean, this just feels like a disease that hits the vulnerable worst, and it's one of the things that, like, that's a lot of things that's I'm so glad you're thinking about those things, Tommy. It's like, thanks for the thoughts about that. I have a few just little comments. Tom says, I love and feel closeness right now, really much like at the Civic. Oh God, I just want to hug you all in the Civic Auditorium. Um, uh, Another person comments that we commend you for being so brave to take this new experiment on. Ian asks, this is another delightfully dorky question. Was there a particular visual background that the players were asked for you to use for their track? And I'm assuming this is for the piece that will be premiered for tomorrow night. Svet, you I don't know if you put this together, but you guys gave an incredibly detailed document. Do you want to talk a little bit about, like, how you prepared us for that challenge?
Sure, of course. You know, this challenge definitely took a village. It's a very communal challenge for us to take on, and I did have a lot of help along the way to make this happen. Many people participated. At the end of the day, yes, this document came from me with the help of the team at the festival, and basically it connects a little bit with what we talked earlier, which is that many people have different levels of comfort when it came to recording themselves. I think for musicians, we can get a little self-conscious when you all of a sudden have that microphone in front of you, and there's also a camera, and they're really close to you. We're not used to that type of closeness in recording normally. And so, what we did actually decide to do is, instead of trying to give too many instructions to every musician, is to just have a set of general instructions which relate to everyone when it comes to which room to choose, why to choose it, you know, to stay away from too many reflective places, to pick a background that's not too complex, because then that helps the visual to be slightly more simple, considering that there will be many people on the screen at a time. And then we had very specific instruction for every instrument, because as our audience knows, different instruments create sound in a very completely different way. For example, the horn directs sound in a very different way than the flute does, or the piano, or the violin, percussion. It all really changes. And so what we did is actually, instead of giving too much instructions to every individual instrumentalist, we gave a couple very basic notes, and we put a picture of what the camera should see when they position it in front of themselves playing their instrument, and said, if you can just replicate that approximately, you're at a very great starting point. And then we trusted, the sense of awareness that all the musicians had beautifully applied here, to listen to their own sound when they recorded, to test this before they make their final runs, and to just ensure that they give us what they think will be the best version of what we're asking for. And everybody just absolutely delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciated at the beginning. I was like, oh my god, I have to read things, words. But it was incredibly helpful, particularly the diagrams, particularly the information about how to set up sound and things like that. It was wonderful. I want to just ask a very big general question, which is, what do you miss about the Cabrillo Festival? Has this like absence changed anything? I mean, I can just say like one of the big things I miss is you guys, and just like thinking of each of you and what you and your like generous kind of artistic souls bring to this festival, and how much it's just great to be in the room with you guys for 2 weeks. But what do you all miss? Emily, you as I think it's quite fair and comfortable to say publicly, as a true veteran of this institution, what have you missed about this being away?
Oh, my yearly fix, right? I was thinking about this a little bit, because we're out of time when we're supposed to be at the festival. What is it that, is so special about Cabrillo? And, I just think that it's a place where we're kind of standing on a threshold of where things are being created and they're being manifested for the first time. And there's something really, incredible about that moment. It's stimulating, it's inspiring, it brings out the creativity, I think, in all of us. And I always come away from the festival with like new ideas, or things that I want to do, projects. So I think I miss that. I miss that kind of, it's like watching a baby being born. I mean, there's something so miraculous about that. And then especially coming into maybe a nurturing and supportive family, which we have, in Santa Cruz, in the Santa Cruz County. It's just, there's something really special about that it's hard to put it into words. Because it's a little bit unnamed. It's kind of like, there's just something that we feel. It's in the air, and I miss the food. Okay. Gotta be honest.
I love it. The ineffable Cabrillo-ness of Cabrillo. And you unmuted?
Yeah, I unmuted. I was gonna, I'm sitting here thinking, how do we put this into words? And it reminded me of someone asking you, about someone you love. Where do you start? I think, I for sure the people, it's not just, it's all of you, it's our audience, it's the triangle we have with the love triangle with the composers, and all of this in real time. We don't get that, and you don't get that anywhere. Most of us don't get that in our orchestras, our professional orchestras, having a living composer stand and tell us how they were feeling, and what their piece is about. And our hosts Barbara and Paul, if you're there, hi, we love you. The food, the weather, Westcliff Drive. I don't know, I can keep going, so I should mute.
Tell me.
Yeah, so I haven't been there for too long. I've just been doing it for 2 seasons so far. And it's already become a place that is so special to me. And it's somewhere that every time I leave, I'm like, okay, I'm counting down the days to when I can come back. Because it's just, I can't even describe it, how important of a place it became to me so quickly. And it's obviously the people there, and how, I mean, we work really hard because we have so many programs and pieces to do, but it's such a amazing environment to be able to share with everybody, because everybody, you could tell that everybody has their own ideas about how they want to shape it, and we're all kind of working together with Christy and with the composer, and it's such an open and really hardworking environments, and it shows when we're playing together. It's, you know, within the first week when I was there, I could already tell that I felt like accepted by all the musicians, and it was so great to have that feeling of where you feel like you belong that quickly. And so, you know, I look forward to seeing everybody. I miss everybody in the festival, and you know, I also love the food. Los Pericos Tacos is my favorite place there. I mean, I miss everything about that place, and I just can't wait to be back, hopefully. And also, Debbie Barato, hello.
Yeah, the enormous generosity of all of the hosts should not be gone unsaid, nor the scullery crew, and of course the incredible hardworking staff who I know have put in double, triple hours to be able to make this online, to pivot to an online only festival and to make it work so incredibly well. Bharat, Anne's lovely husband, I was going to say Anne's lovely wife, which is great also, has a very pertinent follow-up, I think, to something that Svet was saying, which is how have the social conflicts we're facing changed our sense of what arts organizations should be delivering? Yeah, I mean, I will just say like a very quick thing about it, and then I would love to throw it open. We just have 10 more minutes left. Maybe this could be kind of our closing little topic, is that I think the important word there really is should be delivering, because obviously arts organizations have turned a blind eye for many, many years. And I feel myself that the notion of what political art was used to mean a lot of a different thing than it really feels now. For me now, it's much more about, not about me, it's about me actually stepping aside as much as I can and trying to encourage and lift up other voices. And that's a very hard thing for entrenched, giant, conservative arts organizations to do. And I think the proof will be in the pudding, you know, rather than putting a big black Instagram banner, you know, words are words, but actions are actions. Does anyone want to take this one on? Emily, do you have something you feel about? Yeah.
Well, first I wanted to say that, you know, Christy is doing a wonderful job of really making the festival current and bringing out some of these, you know, issues that could be, you know, just attention could be put on them. I love that. He's doing a really nice job with that. I don't know. I think, you know, it's up to the people within the organization to step up. And I, like at American Ballet Theater where I work, it's really interesting. There's a huge cultural change happening because of this, because of the Black Lives Matters, because we do have a small faction of African American dancers, and so their stories have been coming out. And what's happened there, which is I think is really remarkable, is that it's kind of galvanized like a whole movement within the company, and there's a lot of communication going on. And people sharing their stories, people hearing things for the first time. And I really think that that's probably one of the big keys is communication. And for people to be willing to share some of their experiences, and also for people to be able to listen and really understand what some of the issues have been for people that are kind of hidden. You know, I have a friend that years ago He's a clarinetist. And he's African American, and we were touring an area. We were actually at an artist retreat outside of Chicago, and I won't name the town, but it was a really tough. I had never conceived of this, but we would walk into town and get food and stuff, and then we would go back to the artist retreat. And one day he had gone into town, and he came back and he said that he had been trailed by a police car, and he really was just walking back to the retreat. And this is such a just a like threatening type of person. I mean, you can't even imagine. But it was really just the color of his skin. But the thing how that opened my eyes was realizing that these are experiences that he has to anticipate and go through, and we don't even realize it. It's just because people don't talk about it, or they haven't talked about it up until now. So I really think that it starts with just communication and being able to, make changes that way. Change your attitude, change how you treat people, really. It's just, anyway. So I'm really proud of my company that, they've been able to really address this in a really proactive way. It remains to be seen, like, whether they'll bring in more choreographers of, color, or, whether it's just, especially in the ballet world, it's like a lot of our arts organizations, they're very, they come from European traditions. And so in some ways, they don't really embrace who we are as Americans, because we are such a mixture, right, of cultures and backgrounds and, countries. And so it might be a step towards, I feel like Cabrillo is already going in that direction, but it is a step, in my other organization towards really becoming American. I don't know, something that's occurred to me.
No, I mean, I love that as just like a banner, becoming more American, I mean, reflective, responsive.
I can
Svet.
sort of take exactly over from that note of reflectiveness. I think that arts organizations today could basically not only take the role of giving a message, but really taking that and turning into a leadership, leading the way in spreading that message, leading the way with everything that we would like to be out there. And for me, art always has been a very precious part of culture that has the power to make history and to change history. And I think that arts organizations just have to be fearless about this. I understand that this is an extremely challenging mission to carry. And I, especially in these times, cannot imagine how difficult that must be for every organization. But one of the things about artists, for all of us, is that we're resilient. When we got in music, we got in the music because we love what we do. And we realize that this is not a job, that this is a mission, that this is part of our lives, and that playing an instrument is only a part of what we do. We tell a story, we give a message, we give people something that is intangible, but that is absolutely essential to them, just like air is for their soul. And so for me, I really hope that arts organizations embrace more of that leadership role and together team up with every musician who is willing to go along, which will be many, and try to make and shape history going forward.
I love that. I particularly love the idea that we as artists are and should be used to doing hard things, and that hard things, well, it's easy to forget. There are weeks where I'm like, I just want to be comfortable. But then when I have too much comfort, I've left jobs as a musician because I felt too comfortable, actually. And so in the world of doing hard things, I think this is something that we can work together on. Anne or Tommy, we just have a few more minutes. Do you have anything you want to add to this conversation at all? Well, in the time that we have left, maybe let me see if there's any more Oh, Cheryl asks, this is a real change of, a real rip-roaring change of thing, but about my piece for 6 flutes. How can we listen to it? If you go to my website, I'll have more information about it in a week or so. And you can sign up for my email list. TimothyMunro.com, guys, TimothyMunro.com. Well, I just want to say a quick thank you to to Ellen and Lindsay and Elizabeth and Tamara and the whole Cabrillo Festival staff for putting together this this event and also this whole festival. As I was saying before, it's just like a giant lift for everyone. And to Svet, who's in Miami, and Emily, who's in Westchester, New York, to Anne in Kansas City, Missouri. Missouri, not Kansas, right? Not Kansas City, Kansas. Kansas City, Missouri. No, Kansas City, Kansas. All right, very important.
Kansas, yeah.
I know that this is very important to get right. And to Tommy in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Charlottesville, Virginia currently, but Atlanta during the year.
Right. My very best wishes to you guys, and on behalf of you, our very best wishes to the broader Cabrillo family, wherever you are, staying safe, I hope, and well. And geez, we can't wait to give you big hugs next year. I'm going to hug everybody. Oh, please, Emily, if you have final thing.
Well, just to Mary and George, I want to make sure I say hi, because I know they're probably going to watch this if they're not watching right now. You guys are great. I love you and can't wait to see you again.
And Tim, thank you to you because you've been a big part of everything that's been going on. And if I could just take a second to thank the whole orchestra and administration of the festival for being so amazing throughout this project. I hope that tomorrow everybody watches this. It is unlike anything else that is out there. It sounds amazing. The musician sounds amazing. It looks beautiful. And I think you're going to have sort of a second and a third roundabout because it's also just a really powerful piece.
So tune in at what time and on what station?
It is tomorrow. That's all I know. Honestly, I just was planning to just look online and go, but maybe the festival can...
Elizabeth or Tamara, can you clarify so we can at least say it out loud? Like, go to our website.
The website.
Go to the festival website and all will be revealed. Yes. At 5 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern time, West Coast time, I imagine. Gosh, I am bad at this online monitoring thing. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Western. Check your local guides and the Cabrillo Festival website. There's also a lovely, I know there's a lovely piece in the San Francisco Chronicle about the online festival that Joshua Cosman wrote. It's really lovely, and check that out. And I think all that is left for me to say is thank you so much for your time, and we will see you at a concert hall very soon. All right.